pancake, everyone. Prison is a terrible place for everyone. However, there are at least 10 of the worst prisons in the world, with inhumane conditions for prisoners. We told you about them in one of our recent videos, and today we've decided to reveal the truth about the most bloodthirsty prison in the world. In comparison, many European prisons look more like vacation homes than places of detention. Being in such an institution is a real game of survival, in which prisoners rarely win. It is believed that the main task of prison is to re-educate the individual. Many countries, such as Norway, the Netherlands, and Denmark, practice this approach, but unfortunately the world is full of prisons that only bear the name correctional institution. In fact, such places are full of violence, humiliation, and frankly speaking, are simply deadly for prisoners. Now before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like and comment which topics are interesting to you. Also, click on the bell so you don't miss our new exciting videos. Make some tea, get some pancakes, and let's go. The worst prison in the world is located in Brazil. To understand when and what this facility was built for, it is necessary to go back a century. The prison was designed and built by Samuel das Neves in 1920, when it was considered a model prison, meeting the new requirements of the Criminal Code of 1890. The place behind the barbed wire near São Paulo was named Carandiru. It operated from 1956 to 2002, and at its peak was the largest prison in South America, holding more than 8,000 prisoners. The facility was a ghastly complex of brick and concrete with rudimentary utilities and terrible unsanitary conditions. It was hardly even imaginable, and in 1992 it was the scene of a bloody massacre. Drauzio Varela, a famous Brazilian doctor, volunteered as an unpaid doctor in Carandiru from 1989 to 2001, particularly to fight the AIDS epidemic. He wrote a book, Carandiru Station, in which he described his own experiences there and the terrible conditions of the prisoners. Only someone who has been through this hell can accurately describe life in Carandiru. The simultaneous number of inmates in the prison could have been anywhere from 7,500 to 10,000, and there were less than 1,000 staff members for all of the criminals. The institution's employees worked in 4 shifts, so at best there were no more than 250 guards and warders in the prison at any one time. The prisoners were largely left to themselves, and this is why violence, drug abuse, and debauchery were rampant in the Carandiru detention cells. 1 out of every 5 inmates was HIV positive, and medical care in the prison was extremely primitive. Prisoners in Carandiru were dying by the dozens from diseases, from injuries sustained in conflicts with inmates, and from taking their own lives. Very often anesthesia was ignored during operations in the prison hospital, so surviving a serious illness was not easy at all. In the history of the prison, there have been several violent revolts with a large number of casualties, and in general, many people know that the crime situation in Brazil is grim. The criminal situation in the country was even worse in the 1990s. Due to the high crime rate, the number of people arrested in the country was very high, and in Brazilian prisons, inmates rioted from time to time. What are the reasons for such frequent riots in the cages? Most riots are caused by overcrowding, which is the main motive for prison revolts. For example, there are now more than 600,000 people in Brazil's prisons, which is almost twice the number of places in the cells. The fact that most prisoners are represented by gang members, who are constantly fighting for supremacy, both in prison and outside. Many prisons are in fact controlled by criminal gangs, but one of the main reasons for the rampant violence in Brazilian prisons has been the police's impunity. The 1992 prison riot was the most notorious prison riot in the country's history. The enormous number of victims of the Carandiru massacre caused great anger among the country's population. At the time, Carandiru was the largest prison in South America. The prison, which had a capacity of 4,000 inmates, held more than 10,000. The riot began on October 2nd, 1992, after a fight between 2 inmates escalated into a mass riot. Special Forces soldiers stormed the prison, and the operation to suppress the riot resulted in a bloody massacre, which lasted almost 3 hours. More than 300 police officers took part in the massacre. There were 111 prisoners killed that day, almost all of them by police officers. Survivors of the massacre said that the armed police shot in cold blood at even those who did not try to resist. The investigation found that most of the prisoners were shot in the back of the head right in their cells. By the way, in that massacre, no member of the power structure was wounded, while on the part of the detainees, in addition to those killed, about 90 people were injured. 10 years after this terrible event, the prison was closed and demolished. In the end, only one block was left of Carandiru, as a museum exhibit. Later, a park was laid out on the site of the prison complex. Unfortunately, prisons with similar regimes existed and still exist, so we should probably be thankful that we didn't end up there. Imprisonment in Carandiru is something you wouldn't even wish upon your enemy. Be sure to post a comment if you have any details about this prison, or if you know any similar correctional facility. We would be very interested to read about it. Of course, don't forget to subscribe, like, and click the bell to always be up to date with our videos. We wish you a pancake mood, take care of your loved ones, don't break the law, and see you soon. Pancake, everyone.